Started. Now today is Wednesday, so that means it would have been Leo's first game, so it's CJ's story. Siege, what's your story?
Oh, my story is gonna be...
Excuse me. I hope I don't yawn through the whole story again.
My story's gonna be...
It's about a bee?
No,
Once upon... Oh, not about a bee? Okay, sorry.
Yeah. My story's gonna be about... Elvie and the Sea. Do you know much about Five Nights at Wario's?
No, this is like Five Nights at Everybody's House in the World. No, I don't know a thing about Five Nights at Wario's.
Okay. Let's do Elvie and
I can make up stuff.
Elvie and the Siege going to...
Yawning so much about Elvie and Wario's. Oh, sorry. And they go to where?
And they go to Meep City, just having a really normal day. They're gonna play every game in there.
Okay. Once upon a time, Elvie and the Siege woke up, and Elvie said, "Siege, I had a dream." And the Siege said, "Me too, it's amazing. What was yours?" And Elvie said, "I was counting ants." And the Siege said, "I went to Meep City and played video games." And Elvie said, "Your dream's better. Let's do yours." "Okay, here we go." And they got on some horses and rode off. And they got to the portal and went inside Meep City. And it was hee-haw day at Meep City, and everybody was dressed up like a cowboy and saying hee-haw. And they went to the lady at the kiosk and said, "Howdy?" And she said, "Darn tootin' howdy. It's hee-haw days here at Meep City." And the Siege said, "Oh, well, we just look normal." And she said, "You look normal for a city slicker. I bet you ain't never had no outdoor hee-haw like this before." And Elvie said, "I don't know what you're saying, lady. We just want to go and play some video games." "Video games? Ain't no video games in the Wild West." The Siege said, "Okay, we'll find it anyway." And so they took off, walking down the street, and there was guys in cowboy hats, and they're like, "Howdy." And there was ladies in petticoats, and they're like curtsying and stuff, and little kids running around on boardwalks and stuff. Elvie said, "I wonder if this is like a real Western." And the Siege said, "I have no idea." And Elvie said, "Well, let's see if we can get some guns or something." The Siege said, "Now guns? Now you're talking my language." So they walked in. You need to calm down and stop slithering and lay on your back and be normal. Okay? Everybody in YouTube world just heard that you are a squirmer. Ready? All right. And they found a gun shop and went in there. And there was a guy with an eye patch and a hook for a hand. He said, "What can I help you with, gentlemen?" And Elvie said, "Wow, we want to buy some guns." He said, "All right, that'll be 2 bits." And he laid some big, heavy-looking guns on the counter. And the Siege said, "Bits?" And he said, 2 pieces of gold." And Elvie said, "Oh, that's no problem." And he pulled out a gold ingot and slammed it on the counter. And the guy's one eye got really big, and he said, "Why, you could buy the whole store with that sort of gold." And the Siege said, "We don't need the whole store. We just need some guns and lots of bullets, and you can keep the change." "Yee-haw," he said, "I'm rich. I'm going to go and buy myself a mansion." And he took off. And Elvie said, "What about the bullets?" And he said, "Take what you need. Toodaloo, sons." And off he went. So the Elvie and the Siege got a whole bunch of bullets and put them in their pockets and down their pants and in their pockets, and they just had bullets like everywhere. And then they walked out, and Elvie said, "Did you load up your guns?" And the Siege said, "Yeah, did you?" And he said, "Yeah." And Elvie said, "In most Westerns, you can go and stand out in the middle of the street, and then somebody will challenge you to a gun battle, and then you can shoot each other." And the Siege said, "That sounds like fun." And so they went and stood out in the middle of the street. They waited waited. And Elvis yelled out, "Isn't anybody going to try to shoot us?" And just then, some bad guys came rolling up. And Elvis said, "Now we're talking." And the bad guys got off their horses. And the siege said, "On the count of 3. But they didn't wait till the count of 3. They just drew their guns and started blasting. And people screamed and grabbed their kids and ran inside and hid behind some barrels and in some shops. And Elvis said, "Watch this." And he took out both guns and went. And the siege said, "Well, watch this." And he took out his guns and went. And they're like. And the bad guys were like. But the siege and Elvis won, and they shot them all. And then all the Western world went away. And everybody got up, and they were like, "Hooray!" And the siege said, "What's going on?" And the lady at the information desk said, "It's video game day, didn't you know?" And the siege said, "What?" And she said, "That's when we play some video games, only in real life." And Elvis said, "Oh, that's awesome. What's next?" And just then, they heard, and the whole city shook. And it shook again. And then they heard, and they looked up, and on top of a building was Donkey Kong. And he had
That's what I was thinking.
a lady. And she was like, "Help me, help me." And Elvis said, "I'm going to rescue you. We don't even know who you are, though." She said, "I'm a princess." And the siege said, "Are you Princess Peach?" She said, "No, I'm just a normal, actually, I'm not even a princess. I'm just playing one for the video game." And then Donkey Kong started throwing barrels down. And Elvis said, "What do we do?" And the siege said, "Just run and jump." And so they started running, and whenever they ran, they made these squeaky noises. And then Elvis jumped, and he made a noise. And the siege said, "Oh, I'm going to do that noise." And he jumped, and he went. And then they kept doing it. And Elvis said, "How do we get around these barrels?" And the siege said, "There's supposed to be a hammer around here. Look for a hammer." And Elvis said, "Forget looking for one. I brought my hammer." And he pulled out a hammer out of his inventory, and he started swinging. And the siege said, "I didn't know you had the hammer, Mod." And Elvis said, "Yeah, I got a couple of them. Here you go." And threw him a sledgehammer. And the siege was like, "Thanks." And they started beating up the barrels. And then Elvis said, "Now what do we do?" And the siege said, "Find a ladder." And Elvis said, "Here's one." And they climbed up. They went to another level, and there was even more barrels. And they climbed up another ladder. They got all the way to the top. And Donkey Kong was like, "Do, do, do, do." He grabbed the princess and started walking up a ladder. And Elvis said, "I'm bored of this game." And he ran up and grabbed Donkey Kong by the butt. And Donkey Kong was like, "Hey, you're not supposed to do that. We're supposed to go to the next level." And the siege said, "We want to play the next game, though." And he hit Donkey Kong right in the knees with his hammer. Donkey Kong was like, "Ah!" And Elvis threw him down the stairs, or down the ladder. "No fair. Not supposed to happen." And he fell on the ground. And the princess said, "Thank you, I think." And Elvis said, "Game over. What's the next one?" And the whole thing went, and everybody was like, "Huh? We thought that was supposed to last a little longer." The siege was like, "Next game, next game, next game." And all of a sudden, the sky exploded and big holes came in there. And all of a sudden, these huge line art asteroids came down. And Elvis said, "It's asteroids." And the siege said, "Look for a ship." And Elvis looked around and he's like, "There's one." And they saw just like this glowing triangle. And so they jumped down from the ladder to the ladder to the ladder to the ladder. And they went and got inside the triangle. And Elvis said, "Take off." And they took off. And Elvis said, "Awesome, I'm going to steer." The siege said, "Okay, I'm going to shoot." And they started blowing up asteroids. But every time they blew up an asteroid, 2 little ones would appear. Even littler and littler. And Elvis was like, "There's too many little asteroids. Look out, they're going to hit us." And the siege said, "Keep steering. I'm going to try to clear out some of these little asteroids." And just then, along came a UFO, and there was Donkey Kong in it. And Elvie was like, Donkey Kong, a UFO, what's going on? And he said, well, you glitched us. We were supposed to do all the levels, but then you didn't, so now I'm in a UFO. And he's like, pew, pew, pew. And the Siege was like, we won, next game. And all the game went away. And then and there was Pac-Man. And Pac-Man was like, and all the buildings turned into this maze. And the Siege and Elvie were like running. And they were like, are we the ghosts or the Pac-Man? And then Pac-Man came running by. And Elvie looked at the Siege. And the Siege looked at Elvie. And he said, we're the ghosts. Get him. And they started running after Pac-Man. And just then, all of a sudden, the Western guys showed up. And Elvie was like, shoot the asteroids. And the Western guys started shooting the asteroids. And the princess was like, help me. And the Siege was like, where are you? And she's like, I'm riding on top of this Pac-Man. And the Siege said, we can't help you, we're ghosts. And then Pac-Man just ate a power-up. And they turned blue. And Elvie was like, run! And they started running as fast as they could. The Pac-Man was trying to get him. And the Siege was like, I'm a goner, bye! And the Pac-Man ate him. And he turned into eyes. And Elvie was like, ha ha, never happened to me. Look out. And he turned into eyes. And they went all the way back to the beginning. And then, all the games were done. And the mayor of Meep City came up and said, all the games are over. And everybody was like, oh, it didn't last very long. It was too quick. He said, yeah, well, we don't know what happened. Some guys were like making the games go faster than usual. Donkey Kong, are you okay? And Donkey Kong was like, get me out of this UFO. The end. All right, the Siege, or CJ. There's no the Siege. Siege. No. What is the name of the story?
Classic games.
And.
No, wait.
Classic game is fine.
Games mixed up.
Okay.